Hello and welcome to the Time Sweeps Underground bunker in the Forbidden Zone. I am Wasteland Wyatt.
I'm Cutthroat Connor.
And I'm Gamma Gary. And our topic today is apocalypses, wastelands, doomsdays, and dystopias. Now, let's crawl out through the fallout and have a talk.
I have a beef, as you said last week, with some of the apocalypses that are mainstream.
Oh?
A good one that I like to remember. Let's start with one that's a little bit more quote-unquote tangible, that people thought was going to happen but didn't happen. 2012.
Of course.
You remember that? We were
Yes,
young.
we were younger, but I do remember
You remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's a long time ago now. Wow.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years.
Almost.
Oh my god.
Hey, you know what gets even better? That it was. They said it was the Mayan calendar.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be a little off, but keep in mind, the Mayan calendar was different than the calendar that we go by, the Gregorian calendar.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
So, white guy calendar, Mayan guy calendar. So the conquistadors came over and they were like, well, this was the last calendar. Conquistadors didn't think that, but white people a few hundred years later were like, what? Mayans made this last calendar. Must mean the end of days.
Right.
They never made another one. It's like, I wonder why. Why didn't they make another one?
They fucked.
It might be because...
Maybe
it might
we
be because,
pillaged them.
Yeah, it might be because Spaniards just kind of came over and killed them. But hey, who's to say that 2012 that was supposed to be the last year, right?
Right.
What's funnier is that also was a different year. Their 2012 was going to be a different year than ours. If I'm not mistaken, which I may be, the equivalent was our 2008.
So, 4
it
years
already
earlier?
came to pass. Yeah.
Yeah, big difference between their apocalypse, what they thought, what year, not even an apocalypse, when their calendar ended, and when white people were like, it says 2012, dude.
Because weren't their years a little shorter than ours?
It was different. I don't remember the exact differences of
I
how
can't
they
remember
conducted
from
their
history
calendar
class.
years.
I know theirs was either slightly shorter or slightly longer.
I know that there was definitely a significant difference.
Yeah.
Like, if we also go by I don't remember what they called it, but, like, their terminology for how much time will pass until the end of days, like Ragnarok for the Viking apocalypse.
Yeah.
That also came to pass
Yeah.
in 2014.
Right. Which is just... There wasn't a 3-year winter.
Right,
So,
yeah, nothing. Literally nothing.
I mean, 2014 was actually kind of warm, right? It was like...
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
It was like 60-something degrees. Yeah, well, at least here. Maybe in Scandinavia.
for all of our people listening that are only Marvel fans and haven't done any research into the Scandinavian cult, like, religion, basically.
Norse mythology.
I'm going to go back. For all of our listeners that are only Marvel fans and don't know the backstory on, like, Norse mythology, Ragnarok is way different in at least the MCU, because that's my only experience with the Marvel side of Ragnarok. It's way different than in actual Norse mythology. Excuse me. So instead of Surtur coming to being reignited with the eternal flame and stabbing his sword through the core of Asgard and blowing it up, it starts with a 3-year winter, right?
I believe, yeah, the 3-year winter was supposed to be a telltale sign of the coming. It's the fall, the Midgard serpent's going to devour Midgard and then possibly the rest of Yggdrasil.
So in Norse mythology, there's a wolves chasing the sun and moon, right?
Yeah, that's part of it.
And it starts when the wolves catch the moon or the sun, one of them, like
it's the
or
sun.
both, maybe.
Or I think they end and it's like an eternal state of twilight.
Right, because like the wolf will catch the sun.
Because the moon never rises to complete the rest of the day, and the sun neither sets nor rises, so that way it's always timid in between twilight and dusk at all times.
And it all and then there's a big fight between Thor and the Midgard, like the snake that
the Midgard serpent.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, his name is Sleipnir.
Or in God of War, which God of War is what piqued my interest in Norse mythology and got me researching it more. It was Jormungandr. I don't know if that's the actual.
That's
name
probably much more correct. I'm a little out of practice.
Right. That's just what it was in the game. The game got me researching it separately. because I was like, wow, Norse mythology is really cool. Because I was really into Greek mythology, like
Well, yeah,
my whole life.
with like Percy Jackson coming out when we were
Right.
kids and stuff like that. I think like everyone who was in elementary school around like
Yeah, sorry about that. That is Jormungandr.
Okay.
2010-ish would be in like into
Greek,
Norse-
some sort
like
of Greek mythology.
yeah.
Thanks, Percy Jackson.
Thanks, Percy
I
Jackson.
mean, the books are great. The movies, I liked them when I was a kid. Not so much anymore.
the
I'm
first
gonna
one's
reach out.
the
I'm
only
gonna
one
alienate
that's
a
alright.
part of a viewer base. Is it great?
I
Is
mean,
it great?
Are the books great?
I mean,
I
I
enjoy
like
the
the
books.
books.
There's
I
also
grew up with the books.
sister books. The Lost Hero, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Follows a son of Zeus rather than the son of
Well,
Poseidon.
son of Jupiter.
It's the same.
It's the same.
dude.
It's Greek mythology.
I know, it's the same thing, but like
Um,
they go off the Roman in that one, and then it's a weird thing. I read all the books when I was a little kid.
I know there was a book. I don't know who wrote it, but I know there was a series that was. It was the Red Pyramid. That was the Egyptian.
It was Rick Riordan.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe there's been a few about Norse mythology by a bunch of authors.
Yeah.
It's like I love Norse mythology. It's funny because it's in a different, like it's in Marvel as well. Like that whole thing, and so it's a little bit of Greek mythology as well.
Yeah.
But-
even Egyptian, Egyptian pantheon is in Marvel.
Right. It's funny how they integrate all the like actual like religion and stuff into.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that even Ghost Rider at one point was friends with a man who looked like Jesus.
Oh,
That was a thing.
that's crazy. That's funny. I didn't know that.
They changed that because people were like, you can't do that. That's insensitive. So it turned out it was a demon posing as looking like Jesus, and he portrayed Ghost Rider.
Right.
While we're on the topic of
Oh, boo-hoo.
Ghost Rider and Marvel, Marvel itself has had quite a few of apocalypses and doomsdays and some dystopias in its time.
Yeah, not just in the MCU, but in comic books as well.
Yeah,
like
comic books every 5 minutes.
yes,
From Dark Horse Comics, DC, Marvel, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Every comic is about a doomsday.
Like
Well,
DC
it's like
probably
you
has the
don't
most
get-
significant ones, right? So
DC.
yeah.
I mean, everybody has a significant one.
Significant.
DC has, like, their biggest crossover was the end of days for the whole universe.
Well, and
Multiverse.
that's
Yeah.
kind of Marvel's thing too.
Well, yeah, but I'd argue that DC
Did it better.
did it best and first, in a way.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't get better than the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, that's true.
Not the CW one, folks. The
Yeah.
actual.
The real Crisis on
comic
The
Infinite
book
Earths.
actual
one.
comic run.
Yeah.
Or
not,
Flash
not the,
actually
not the
dies.
sequels to it, but the first one.
Yeah, never the sequels.
God, the sequels were god awful. I don't know why they. It was a cash grab.
The second one was okay.
The third
Then it-
one, no.
It starts dwelling down.
Yeah.
Well, so like I was gonna say, like how there's an apocalypse level event, and like every 5 minutes in comic books is like back when comic books were invented, or like not invented, but like really popular. You didn't really get much bigger than a world-ending event. So like
Yeah.
the stakes were never higher than the world ending. Like
Well, and
I
like,
think that's what made it so interesting when they were finally like, we have different worlds. What if the worlds were colliding and that was the end of the world?
and honestly, it probably helps them a lot because whenever the world ends, you have to reset it somehow. So
That's something I do admire about old comics. It was easy to be like, oh, well, we stopped the Nazi scientist with the giant robots.
after
Save you next week.
so
Yeah.
long, if Spider-Man was running, had the same run, same story from Amazing Fantasy 15 to now, how convoluted and how backwards, how would you have to explain how this kid hasn't aged in several decades?
The same way you explain it with Batman. You just keep doing it and don't ever recognize it.
well, it's kind of like, and then Simpsons does a
I mean,
really
in
good job of
in
that,
South
too.
Park and all the serialized shows do it, but I'm
they're
just
they're
saying.
a character. You don't have to realize their
Have you
age.
heard the Simpsons theory? We're kind of getting off topic. We'll get back on topic here after I say this. The Simpsons theory is that the whole show takes place in months,
It's all just
all 20 something seasons is in months, and that's why none the family doesn't grow. But my beef with that theory is that there are some characters that have aged in the
Yeah, that's
like a lot.
and that's actually like a joke in the shows, The
Right.
Simpsons, and they're like, I think one time somebody said, "How come you don't age? How come you're still 9?" And Bart just kind of like shrugs his shoulders. I don't know. I don't care.
All right, so I know you have some words to say about Fallout, and I have here I'm written down nuclear holocaust, nuclear apocalypse, and that's like one of the biggest franchises for that stuff.
Yeah.
So, what's
The-
your beef with Fallout?
Fallout itself, I realize now that my beef probably comes more from the infrastructure of Bethesda than it does the actual game.
Okay.
Because it's like they had a consistent story for a while. They're like, oh yeah, this is how it goes. This is the apocalypse. This is Fallout. And then all of a sudden one day, they just started changing small things. Until the point where it's just like, now wait a minute. Let's say the bombs fall this day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in Fallout 4, they did a beautiful job. It was October 27th when the bombs fall in the universe.
That's my second favorite Fallout game is Fallout 4.
What's your first?
New Vegas. Is that the game?
Yeah, New Vegas out in a.
New Vegas is
Nevada?
the best. Like, it's one of
That's
the
the
best.
one
Fallout New
that's the one
Vegas.
that's known for having the best story.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite one.
And
at least.
like
The
Obsidian,
Legion
And then
Obsidian
Fallout 3
made
is my
that, yeah.
third favorite one. They're all great games. I love Fallout. The only Fallout I have never played is the 76. I've never played 76. And
Good choices.
you have a
Yeah,
played
that's
that game.
I was about to get to that one
Okay.
because that's also where my main problem derives from. Let's say the apocalypse happens on this date. In Fallout 4, they talk about that. There's a Chinese submarine. That's who nuked America. That's who nuked the world, was them two going at it with each other. There's a nuclear submarine. They were supposed to attack Boston. They didn't attack Boston. That's a story mission in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Or a side quest. Sorry, not a story mission. And that actually comes up to be something relatively talked about. And it's like people like that quest so much that Fallout 76 has a bunch of stuff that's like, oh yeah, there's actually these Chinese robots
Oh.
in West Virginia. And everybody was like, okay, how did they get there? And I don't know.
They're there though.
Yeah, and they retrofitted it so that way there's a secret underground base. Secret underground Chinese base. And it's underneath.
In West Virginia.
Yeah, and it's in a factory. So it's like, okay, that works. They built the factory and somebody, secrets as you do.
Right.
And then they're just like, no, wait, but actually, this is where they come from. And it's another secret underground base in a giant cave. But it's also not done in the way you'd think, like a vault.
Right.
It's a building.
In a
It's-
cave.
It's a building inside of a cave. Like a
Okay.
standard-looking building like you would find in the center of town in Fallout.
Just in a cave.
In a cave.
Well, see, that game had I think that's probably one of the biggest letdowns in gaming
Everywhere around that game.
because one, everyone's always has wanted multiplayer Fallout. That's
Yeah.
something that everyone has ever wanted who's ever played Fallout. Also, the setting is in West Virginia.
Yeah, had one of the best trailers that I can remember. I know exactly where I was when I watched that trailer. And that's not doing my summer school classes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that game had so much potential and just to go straight into the ground.
Yeah,
a drop.
everywhere around that game. Everywhere there was a dropped ball. Like, if you look even deeper, there was a promo deal. You get the Power Armor bundle of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and you were supposed to get a canvas bag, a Power Armor helmet, a map of the map,
Yeah.
but it was like on a metal frame and it glowed in the dark.
Oh, that's cool.
And you also got some plastic army guy figurines of some of the enemies
Yeah.
and stuff in the game. The canvas bag turned out to be a nylon bag.
Oh.
So people are like, this isn't what was promised. We want our money back. We paid $200 for this. We
Mhm.
paid for a canvas bag. Bethesda was like, oh, well, there's your bag. Eat it. Have fun. Oh, yeah, by the way, here's your barely fixed game.
Yeah.
On release, the game just wasn't ready.
Well, and even worse than a regular Bethesda game.
Yeah,
Like,
it had worse
Bethesda-
problems than
yeah.
Fallout 4.
Like, Bethesda games are glitchy on release anyway. Like Skyrim, you'll in modern builds of Skyrim, you'll still fly up to the moon whenever you get hit by a giant. Like, that's just happens. It happens in the VR port. Like, it's very disorienting. I don't recommend it. Not the VR port's amazing, but getting hit by a giant, but I don't recommend. But like
I
all
remember the first
these
time that
are
happened in Skyrim.
When you
Like-
got hit to the moon.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
like
this is what I'm doing.
I almost threw up whenever it happened to me while I was in VR. I was
Oh, I can't even
like,
imagine.
oh my, I almost threw up. It was so bad. But what was I? So, but like Bethesda ports to new consoles are still glitchy. Like that's they have a track record of doing that.
When they have all these things that they could do to fix them.
Exactly.
Like, that's the biggest problem at Fallout
Exactly.
76 to me, is on
They
release.
have the resources to do it.
It
Yeah.
had the same problems as Fallout 4, and they didn't fix them.
Exactly.
They didn't.
They were like,
they don't
oh, it's
learn.
fine. We can
Yeah.
patch it after it's released. And it's like, but why not fix it before you release it? Because you already knew that this was a problem.
It's like the opposite problem, but kind of the same problem as like Cyberpunk. Like Cyberpunk had the opposite issue.
Another game that was really hyped, like everyone was really hyped for, and then just
Yeah, and that one
let
was
down and died
hyped
out.
for
Well-
years.
Well, like part of the issue was like people thought it would run like it was advertised on modern consoles, and they didn't advertise using like not modern consoles, but like last gen consoles. But they didn't
Right.
advertise it with test footage from last gen consoles. So people were like, what the hell?
Also, I
even,
think
even
Keanu
on
Reeves.
Next Gen, it had problems.
Yeah, I mean, I have it on PC and it runs okay.
And I think a big part of the overhypeness was that Keanu Reeves was involved in the project.
Yeah, and that's part of the joke with
Well,
that.
because he was like mainstream in memes
Meme.
at that point.
Yeah,
So everyone was like, Keanu Reeves, this game's gonna be so good.
that's part of the joke on release, that the game was so unfinished and broken because instead of actually making a game, they just use it as an excuse to hang out with Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves Simulator. I would rather have that game.
Keanu Reeves Simulator.
Yeah.
It's just sitting
It's
around
just like-
petting a dog,
No,
Pet a
it's
dog
just
and
like
going on
a,
motorcycle rides.
it's like a movie game of just the Matrix,
donating
Rush,
money to charity.
right.
Rush 2.
It's just a
and,
combination of all of his movies
Yeah,
with the Guitar Hero portion.
Yes. Yes.
and and then the final mission's John Wick. The final mission would be Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
You have to bring music back to the world.
Yes. After you
Agreed.
kill a bunch of Russians for killing your dog.
While we were in video games, and that reminded
Yeah.
me of a good apocalypse, a video game that derives a brilliant apocalypse, and it's the whole series essentially.
I might know what you're gonna say.
And what's that?
What kind of apocalypse is it?
No, go ahead. What was I gonna say, Gary?
For me, what you just described was The Last of Us.
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm getting to that.
You don't like that game?
I'm gonna come to that.
Those games?
I'm looping around.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
What
was
were you gonna say?
I was going to say Halo,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because the whole story derives from the Flood,
Right.
who are like fungus zombies essentially,
Mm-hmm.
outer space fungus zombies, and they derive in colonies, and it's disgusting.
But isn't that the same with Last of Us?
It's yes, but better, and I can explain why. I'll get to that in a second.
Also, you said the whole series was good. I don't know if I agree with
The idea,
that. Okay.
Halo
the gameplay,
5.
it gets to Halo. Even Halo 4
I think
had its
Halo
problems.
4 is where it
Well, that's when I went to 343.
right.
Yeah, that's when you see the clear drop off, and it gets a little like, you guys good over there?
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's
back
the-
to what
it
you were
was the
saying.
first game though. So
343's first Halo game.
343 wasn't 343 like
Wasn't Halo
made,
Wars technically their first Halo game?
Well, like 343's like named after 343 Guilty Spark.
Yeah. But
so
I'm saying-
weren't they like made for Halo?
Technically speaking, I think they were. But, hear me out.
Yeah.
That's the first time that I think they worked by themselves on a Halo game.
Well, yeah,
Like, Bungie stepped away.
because Bungie was sick of Microsoft.
Yeah, Bungie was like, we're going to go have fun on our new space series. Good
Right.
luck.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying about
The Flood. The
Yes.
Halo rings, they're doomsday devices.
Mhm.
They're made to wipe out all life on a planet and start it back over.
Okay.
And the Flood is the perfect, disgusting mold zombies that poop out blood.
Yes. Yep.
They get big, they swell up, they spit out more flood spores. And I find that to be like one of the best thought, like, it's very simple, but I think it's nicely thought out that those two things, that like the Forerunners made the Halo rings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doomsday devices, and they wipe out the flood. And then the series picks back up when somebody discovers the flood again. So the Halo rings kind of are like a problem again, because they're like, hey, we don't want to wipe out all the life in the universe again.
Yeah.
Let's
Mhm.
not do that. So they have to destroy the Halo rings, and they negotiate with a hive mind of a flood. That gets into some places I don't remember enough to truly get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I,
then-
And you're
I
way more
recently-
experienced with
I
Halo.
recently
than me.
played Halo 1, so I remember it a little bit.
And it derives further after that once you get to 4, and it's like on this
And then
random Forerunner planet.
Cortana dies.
Yeah.
In quotations.
She how do you want to put that? She changes. She becomes the new villain.
Oh, yeah,
Like
I remember
Halo
that.
5, and she tries to reinstate a new doomsday device made to kill planets.
Oh, so like just.
Yeah, another, but it's not a Halo ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come to Halo Infinite, and it's just like, guess what?
Cortana.
She's somewhere. Chief's gonna find her. We don't know what she's gonna do, and we have the new AI, and I don't remember her name right now. But Chief has a new girlfriend, I guess. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Cortana's gonna be pretty pissed.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that reunion's gonna go.
Yeah.
But you have that, and then they're just finally like, guess what? New Halo ring. It's the Zeta ring. Get ready.
Do we know the story for this Halo 5 or this Halo Infinite? Yeah.
Chief's been in space for a while.
Okay.
It sounds
yeah.
like the story's going to unfold, but like we're going to learn what happened between 4 and 5. 5 and 6. Sorry,
Okay.
because it went Halo 5 then Infinite.
We're gonna find out what happened between Halo 6 and Halo Reach. I know.
I was gonna say,
I know Reach was a prequel.
Viewers, I
have,
hope you.
I have played Halo
Some
Reach.
of you know me personally, and I know the face I made as I turned over my shoulder and looked him dead in the eye.
I've played Halo Reach.
That was a lot of people's, or at least in our age, that was their first Halo, and that was their favorite Halo.
Yeah, Halo Reach is synonymously known as like the best Halo.
Yeah. My favorite Halo is
3.
Halo 3.
Halo
Yeah.
3 is
Just story and overall like gameplay. Like I love that game.
Halo 3 is the best Halo with Master Chief.
Okay.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thing is though with those games, I didn't rank worldwide in
Yeah.
the multiplayer like I did on Halo 4.
Do
I
you
was
think-
good
Do you
at Halo
think
4.
that?
Sad to say.
Do you think that you were like globally ranked because of your skill, but also because the
player base?
The player base was
Probably.
so small. Okay.
Because I was kicked off of a leaderboard by, I believe it was somebody from Korea.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure player base played a big amount into how many people were
Mm-hmm.
good at Halo 4.
Right. Because that game, like, not a lot of people
Yeah,
played
I
that
remember
game.
servers, like, if there was a voice chat, the servers were very mixed. I remember being in a server with 2 Irish kids,
Oh.
one British guy who was middle-aged, and some dude from Poland.
Probably like loyal fans like you that are like just
Halo is life.
yeah,
There is no PS5, there is only Halo.
right. Like the only reason you're with Xbox is for that game.
For
alone.
the Chief.
Right. So to the game that I said was
Yeah, The Last of Us.
The Last of Us is honestly probably my favorite zombie apocalypse story, like in all media, honestly. Just the way they do it, like, because doesn't the disease that infects the zombies, it exists in nature, like, for real, like with some species of ant?
Yeah,
like,
with certain
or
types
algae.
of bugs.
Like, it's an algae, and it will infect dead insects, and
It's a mold, yeah.
I don't know why, like, just the real world aspect that, like, I think that's
of
really
like
cool.
where it actually came from.
Right.
Do you remember the name of the type of fungus it is?
I don't. No.
I haven't actually played Last of Us. So.
Myconid? That might be the classification, but I don't remember the specific name.
All I know is that that really, like, that got me into that. I was like, wow, just the real world aspect that they're bringing to the game is really cool. And then the fact that, like, you would have, like, 30 zombies, but only have, like, 10 bullets for, like, a level or something. So you had to, like, sneak around. I don't know. It was kind of like the early seasons of Walking Dead for me. Like, I just enjoyed every minute
I'm
of it.
glad you threw that in there as well,
Like,
because that means we can open the door.
One of my favorite zombie games is like The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I play a lot of
the VR. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Connor's our
it's-
resident VR person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So that's our dynamic trade-off.
yeah.
Connor is VR, and he knows much more about video games overall. Gary is he's our YouTube star. And I'm over here, and I'm like, I know movies and monsters.
Yes.
Gary is our review sponge.
I am the watcher.
I'm just like I'm very like I'm kind of like a multi-tool. I'm in with a lot of different communities, but you'd rather have a whole tool. Like, I'm kind of like the screwdriver attachment on like a multi-tool. Like, you can use me if you need a screwdriver, but you would rather have just like a normal screwdriver.
Okay, don't describe you like that. Come on.
You're more like the Swiss Army knife itself. If you need a knife, you need a knife, and if you need a screwdriver, you need a screwdriver, and all of them are in that one piece.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's how I would describe myself, at least in certain, like, with all the fandoms. Like, I know pretty much about a little bit about everything.
But The Last of Us.
I love that game. And then, like, they come out with the second one, and that game devastated me.
See, I like...
I mean, I love it. Like, mentally, like it was just an emotional roller coaster for me.
Yeah.
But...
I love The Last of Us approach to the idea of fungus people zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy that. But I've played through parts of The Last of Us, the first one. I haven't touched the second one. I like the bullet stance, the way that it's you actually have to ration it out and think about it before you do it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice game design. But the story itself,
You don't like the story?
I don't think it's special. Everybody's like, it's so heartwarming. It's the best zombie story ever told. It's the same zombie story.
And it's a very true grit story.
Yeah, it's basically True Grit
Well,
in zombie land.
it was... So a lot of people look at, like... fuck. I'm gonna be mad at myself because I can't think of her. It's Ellie, right?
Yeah.
Ellie.
So Ellie was like really big for The Last of Us because she was a side character that like was along with you for the whole game, and she couldn't die, so you didn't have to worry about her. So you could just play your own game, like play by yourself, and you don't have to worry about. And a lot of people like that aspect of the game because up to that point, if you had like a pet character in quotation marks, like that's big. I don't want to describe Ellie
an
as
NPC.
yeah. I don't really want to describe Ellie as a pet character, but she's kind of
like
was.
she's
You
kind of
could
like
face
Lydia.
consequences of them dying.
Well, Lydia can die,
Right.
but like she's kind of like dog meat in Fallout.
Right.
Not necessarily a pet, but like a companion.
Indestructible.
Right.
Indestructible. Can't.
Well, because up to that point, in Last of Us, a lot of like characters like that were killable, and like you had to worry about if they died.
like in a
Like
what's the
Dead
one-
Rising.
Yeah, Dead Rising.
Yeah, if they died, you had to like restart the level or whatever. But like,
Or like in
Or
Dead
just
Rising's
lose them.
case, yeah, you failed a mission. Good luck.
yeah. And a lot of people like that aspect of that game, and then God of War came around doing it to do that with Atreus. I love God of War. Like, I'm a pretty big God of War fan for not owning a PlayStation till about a couple years ago. So
What was it you mentioned a second ago?
the first
Walking-
few seasons of Walking Dead,
Walking Dead.
only the first few seasons, like like seasons 1 through 5, or as far as I got before I like kind of lost interest.
I'm gonna lump it together in this case with like The Last of Us even.
Yeah.
Last of Us, The Walking Dead, Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead. There's so many zombie properties.
Mm-hmm.
Back for Blood. Well, Back for Blood is in the same universe as Left 4
Even
Dead.
Red Dead Redemption did their whole zombie thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even that one, like every one of them does have something that makes them slightly special.
Yeah.
Right.
Like even Resident Evil, the most current one,
Mm-hmm.
it's mushroom-based zombies. That's sorry, I spoiled the game, I guess, but seriously, you kind of get the inkling of the idea if you can put two and two together and read stuff in the game.
Right.
It basically tells you at the beginning.
Mario ate too many mushrooms.
Wahoo! I ate the mushroom.
Mike
I'm a
Tyson.
zombie.
Mike Tyson kept eating his mushrooms, and that's what happened.
Oh?
Mike Tyson is big on mushrooms. I don't know why we're talking about
like
this.
shroom
Like
mushroom?
drugs, like the
Oh.
drug
Shroom,
mushroom.
mushroom.
He was on. plug for a podcast that doesn't even need it, but he was on Logan Paul's podcast, and Mike Tyson brings out fucking shrooms and just eats it. I'm like, this guy is insane.
God,
All right.
But that probably, I don't know if you're gonna cut that out, but
I'm afraid to say anything about Mike Tyson.
I'm good.
I would just
I won't cut that out. You're good.
But yeah, zombies. Overall, I have mild beef with zombies
okay.
because like I am a classic monster fan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know more than I will ever need or will ever be useful about the idea of monsters through and through.
Yeah.
Like what we use in the idea of monsters and zombies, in this case, just zombies.
Yeah.
That's also not like the origin of zombies. Zombies were more of a mystical, they weren't dead, but they were like dead. Basically a mental slave, a drone.
Right.
It's similar to how we
Yeah.
see like the ants.
Mm-hmm.
Even they die at the end though.
Right.
But when it comes to the idea of zombies, that word started being thrown around, and I don't remember when. I think around the time of the movie Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, that is the granddaddy of all zombie movies.
It's like modern day zombie.
That's
stuff.
what did it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's in public domain, right?
Yes, the first movie is.
Yeah.
There's a few movies in the series, and it's George Romero's zombie movies.
Oh yeah.
He's the man that pioneered what we know today as the slow shambling. They're coming to get you.
Right.
They're good at the most scary thing about them is their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen that movie, it's the zombie movie.
It's great.
Before that, you had White Zombie with Bela Lugosi, and it was voodoo style zombies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's magic. They have some semblance of who they were somewhere inside them, but they can't tap into it. And by the end of the movie, they're still basically drones, but they get their revenge. Mystical voodoo.
That one Scooby-Doo, like that one direct VHS Scooby-Doo movie.
Which
Like
one are you
the
referring to?
one on like the island, like
Oh,
the zombie
that was in
island.
theaters.
That was in theaters?
Yeah,
Oh shit!
Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island.
Oh my god!
Really?
That's kind of that's closer,
That's a
but even
frickin'
that falls
blast
into
from the past.
the undead versus
Yeah.
magic slave people.
Okay.
And it comes from a mixture of cultures that's even hard to explain. But like the idea of zombies now, it's much more of they're ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even that comes from what is described. Even George Romero got his idea from reading I Am Legend,
Right. Yeah.
and they're like vampire-y ghoul zombie things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be like the next evolution of man,
Oh.
which is a weird thing that George Romero runs with later on in some of his movies.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, welcome to a segment that I wanted to integrate into our podcast that we will basically question and answers segment. And we had a question via DM on Instagram. You could do that, or you could comment a question down below and we'll see it. And it might make its way into an episode. The question is how we got our name from like the Time Sweep's name. So the way we got our name is that we were sitting around, we wanted to come up with a podcast, and we were having troubles with names because, everyone and their mom has podcasts nowadays, and most names are taken. So I thought back to a great movie called Bruce Almighty. I don't know if you remember that movie. And
I remember it.
there's a crucial point, not really crucial, it's not really important to the story at all. But so I originally pitched you guys the idea of Sweeps Week for a podcast name. I don't know if you remember that. And you guys were like, no. And I was like, okay. Because there's that scene in the in the movie where he's like, not on Sweeps Week. Not on Sweeps Week.
I remember that.
And I was like, that would be a really funny name for a podcast because, I don't know. And then you guys were like, no, we don't like it. And I was like, what about Time Sweeps? And then, yeah, that's how we get, it's not a very,
It's a weird name.
it's not a very, cool story on how we found our name, but I just pitched an idea to the guys and they liked it.
I
And
mean, it was like the most podcasty name that we could really think of, honestly. Like it would mean that's why I said go ahead. I was like, well, there's no real other names that it could be, so that haven't been taken. So Time Sweep sounds good.
and it's catchy and it
Yeah.
stuck around. So,
Yeah.
yep. Thank you guys for listening to this segment. Make sure to go ask us a question somewhere, whether it be on an Instagram post or DM or just down in the comments below. Thanks, guys. So to veer away from zombies stuff, and go back to the nuclear stuff, like
Yes.
Holocaust and
I have a good connecting point
Apocalypse.
between the thing.
one of my favorite just one of the best movies that I've watched. I don't know how it's scored, like on Rotten Tomatoes or just public score either. It's called The Book of Eli, with
Oh, yeah.
Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah.
I haven't actually seen that yet.
So it's a really good freaking movie. It's like it's a wasteland movie,
Yeah.
but
You don't say.
it's not like it's really good. So the whole spoiler alert for you who haven't seen it, I do recommend watching the movie if you haven't seen it. It's really good. But so you follow his character the whole movie, and you probably could have drawn the connection that his character was blind, but me being stupid boy, it was a big reveal at the ending of the movie that he was blind.
And
And
the movie, my God.
and yeah, so there's a fight, like there's basically a fight. He has like the last Bible, like holy Bible, like he has like the last copy that
I see.
in the area or whatever. And there's basically a Wild West town, and the leader of the Wild West town wants that book, and he's like, I'm not giving up my Bible. And then the whole big climax at the end of the movie is that he gets injured, and then something else happens, and then the leader of the Wild West town gets the book, and he finds out, and this is like the reveal that he's blind. It's all
In Braille?
In Braille. The whole Bible's in Braille. And like I thought, I got goosebumps just talking about that, because that reveal to me was just so big. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, but if you go to watch it now, you're gonna be like, oh, it makes sense that he's blind. Oh, his smell's really good. Oh yeah, that makes sense because his other senses are heightened because he can't see.
I remember kind of like that reaction when I was younger. I haven't seen the Book of Eli in a long ass time.
It's an older in quotation marks movie. Like it's not like 90s movie. It's like early 2000s, like mid 2000s.
I was gonna say, yeah, I remember it was on Netflix for a short time. I believe.
I think it
might
still is.
still be.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to see it, but I still haven't just watched it.
So then they call the Book of Eli is that they meet up with the guy who's running like a bigger city, or like he at least runs the library in the bigger city, and he's like, you have a Bible? And he's like, yep. And here he's like memorized the whole Bible. So instead of calling it the Holy Bible, when they put the book on the shelf, it says the Book of Eli, because it's his rendition of
what he remembers.
What he remembers from the Bible. And I just think I'm getting goosebumps just talking about that movie.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice reveal to how like a cinematic end of a movie.
Right. And Denzel Washington just does a freaking fabulous job in that movie. I just love Denzel Washington as an actor.
I was gonna say, you know why?
Why?
Because he's Denzel Washington.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, I'd definitely go watch it, because there's a lot of spots that I didn't say, a lot of like other drama that happens, and overall really good movie.
Movie things.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do have a good connection point between zombies and nuclear apocalypse death.
Okay.
So let's say a zombie apocalypse at Walking Dead.
Yep.
That's modern day.
Yep.
Zombies everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It didn't start modern day, but it's continued on to modern day.
I mean, it started when we had many nuclear power plants.
Right.
So what do nuclear power plants need?
Like radiation?
People to maintain them.
And water.
Right. Well, yes, those are things that it in fact needs. But it needs a human component to monitor it, because they're not completely automated anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. But
yeah.
Somebody please, if you know all the specs of a nuclear power plant, please go ahead and correct me. But my point stands. I feel like it would not end well when nobody around the world can maintain the nuclear power plants.
Okay.
I feel like there'd be a moment of power plants going off and just Chernobyls going off in every
Great
place.
documentary on HBO, by the way.
Yeah, Chernobyl.
Yeah.
That fits into that's a wasteland right there.
Yeah.
That's on topic.
I watched that show,
actual
and that was
apocalypse.
crazy. That's a real world that happened in like
And
recent history.
And
like hit recent.
what
in
was that
quotation
one?
marks.
Yeah,
What was
in the
that one in
grand scheme of things.
Japan?
Fukushima.
Fukushima, yeah.
That was in our lifespan.
Well, yeah, I know. It wasn't as bad, right? Fukushima.
I think they
you still can't really go back.
Well,
so.
they
there-
jumped on
there are-
top of it quicker than.
Well, there are people who live near
Yeah,
Fukushima.
it was more of a problem that it was a flood that caused problems
Yeah.
versus just like how Chernobyl was like the UN safety. It failed inspection like 7 times.
Chernobyl did.
Yeah, and then 3 of those 7 times it was after the UN Security Council, or not Security Council, Nuclear Commission Council was kicked out of the nation. Soviet Union was like, stop checking on us. And then the Soviet Union conducted its own searches and be like, yo, this still doesn't, this is no good.
Yeah.
It will explode. This place will kill thousands.
And it did.
And then everybody in charge was like, screw it.
Screw it. Let's keep
Put
doing
it up.
what we're doing.
And then, elephant's foot now. Went through hundreds of feet of concrete, still irradiated. If you go through it, you go near it, you will still feel like there's pins and needles on your face.
And after you leave, you'll be in a quarantine, and you most likely will die.
Yeah, you.
Well, and the fact that it
Be
was
ready to
so
meet your maker.
devastating, because no one knew what to do at the time. Like people were like, "Oh,
Yeah, and
it exploded. What do we do?"
and the world didn't get to
Well,
know.
and no, like when they said it exploded, no one like that was there was like, it's impossible that it exploded. Like at least in the documentary, like the show on HBO, like the miniseries.
This is Mother Russia. It is impossible that something went wrong in Mother Russia. It's
the only
Mother
thing
Russia.
that explodes is bum.
Only thing that explodes is bomb on the American soil.
Another great thing to go watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, I feel like in a zombie apocalypse, there'd be nobody surviving at all.
You think?
all the
Well, if
things that
it's-
would fall through.
Well, yeah, but like if you're like just in Timbuktu, nowhere.
Well, and see, my thing with zombie
I think that's only gonna work if
apocalypses.
you're in Siberia.
Well-
That's the largest piece of untouched land.
Like there's not a lot of nuclear power plant. Is there a nuclear power plant over here? Like
There's
near
I
here?
know there's, I believe 8 to 12 in the state of Missouri entirely.
Oh, okay.
And I know like
There's
let's
a lot
say-
more than you would think in Missouri.
Yeah.
Like,
If enough
and-
of them go off and create problems, that's going to affect larger atmosphere areas. And when I say atmosphere, I don't mean atmosphere. It would affect that
unless
too,
there's
but-
someone to turn them off in time, at least.
Right. Which I really don't think that all of them are going to have that. You'd have problems with the water. You'd have problem with the cloud. It's going to filter through, and nobody's going to have a good time.
right.
There is no apocalypse party.
Something that I know you really despise, and the critics kind of liked it, is Zack Snyder's zombie portrayal.
Oh, yeah. Any of his zombie movies. Even
Just any of his movies for you, really, you don't like,
there's one that I'm okay with,
which is?
and it's The Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a
Mhm.
miracle that he turned out a movie as okay as The Watchmen.
Yeah.
The Watchmen is one of those things you just can't adapt it. It's not easy to do.
So what was your problem with Zack Snyder's zombies? What's the movie called?
Army of the Dead.
Yes.
His zombies, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
straight up all of them. He started with, even George Romero made fun of him in one of George Romero's movies.
Okay.
Because there's a group of teens, or college students, they're making a zombie movie. And he's like, my zombies run. And then they meet up with an older director who's kind of a self-insert character for George Romero. He's like, why do your zombies run?
Mm.
And he's like, because it's scarier. And it's like, no, it's not. They're shambling corpses.
Right.
Why are corpses running? And that's been one of my problems with Zack Snyder zombie movies. One thing I do like is that they don't have his stupid filter hue over it. They're not blue. They're not pea yellow.
Right.
They're just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
The most current one, his soundtracks are usually pretty all right for the zombie movies. I think there's been 2 that have had Richard Cheese on them, which if you don't know him, please look him up. His music, he does covers. It is great.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a cover of Viva Las Vegas for the most current one because it was in Las Vegas.
Right.
But I really dislike the whole aspect of it being like, oh yeah, the zombies mated.
Right.
Zombie baby.
That's an aspect in movies that
It fits an
they're
idea
dead corpses.
Well, but
It fits an idea that it's supposed to be kind of like the next evolution of man.
well, also
but
yeah, or like mindless drones.
but they're not in the new movie.
They're not though. Yeah.
That's
Well,
what-
because so like if you're bitten by the head, like the guy who basically started all, which was an alien, right?
Yeah.
You're the higher intelligence of version of zombies. But if you're bitten by them, you're just like a regular.
yeah, you're
zombie.
basically there's not much danger. In fact, it's like getting superpowers in that universe, unless you're just eaten. There's a zombie tiger for some reason.
Yeah, that I didn't like that. Anything where the animals are like zombies, I don't know why I don't like that. But like any time where zombies aren't like human, like it's a disease for me. Like a zombie plague is a disease that is exclusive to humans.
Right. That's what bothers me.
And animals are like if they get a hold of an animal, they're eating the animal. It's not going to turn into a zombie. They're going to devour that thing.
Right. That's something that bothers me, especially with, like, let's say the tiger.
Right.
Why is there a zombie tiger? Why is a human virus, and let's say it's the next evolution of humanity, that makes it even more dumb. How is the tiger a zombie?
Right. It just doesn't make sense. That stuff doesn't
if
make
I
sense
have
to me.
the flu or the common cold or even COVID-19,
You're not gonna get your dog sick.
yeah, if I sneeze, if I cough into my dog's mouth, it's not going to make him sick.
He might even enjoy it.
No. Stop. Please don't have to say that again.
What the hell?
But yeah, like, they can end up carrying it, like the Black Plague. Rats carried it because the fleas carried it, and then it would get onto
Yeah.
the humans, and then the humans would die from it. But that doesn't equal the same thing.
Right.
So it's like, how does this work? What are the rules of your world? Because you can't say it's a human virus. To me, it would be funnier, almost. Like, throw all caution to the wind. There's just a tiger population. Not zombie tigers. Straight up tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Screw it. The zombies don't mess with the tigers don't mess with the zombies. They eat some of the other stuff that might be living there.
And hell, it's Vegas, so it makes sense.
Right, yeah, I'm sure there's technically a breeding population of tigers.
Or a
in Las
zoo,
Vegas.
like zoos.
Yeah, I've seen one movie. It's a crappy movie. It's all the zombies are animals.
Oh, okay.
And that runs into the problem of, once again, it's like, well, how does a
Well, there's like
lion
there's
turn a
zombie
giraffe into a
ants,
zombie?
Right.
kinda.
Well, once again, though, that's a mold that makes them into a zombie.
And it
versus
doesn't
a
spread.
virus.
It doesn't
Yeah.
spread to other species. Of
Yeah.
like, you're not gonna see it in the Amazon rainforest a zombie dolphin, or something like that.
Right. I'd be more okay if it was a zombie gorilla,
Right.
because there'd be a high, not exact, but a slightly higher chance that.
Or
if I
some
had the
kind of
zo- if-
ape.
Yeah, if I was a zombie and I bit a gorilla, we're more genetically similar that it could do something to them.
Well,
Yeah.
Or even a chimpanzee.
Right, like how was it HIV originally came from chimps?
Really?
I think. I may be
Or
completely
some
wrong.
sort of
I'm not about to
sexually
claim that
transmitted
I'm-
disease?
Who?
I'm not about to claim that I'm right about that. That's the story that I remember reading about. Doesn't mean it's true. But I remember that it was a virus that came from, I believe, chimpanzees, and then somebody did something, and then the humans got it, and then we had, the AIDS epidemic.
Right. Well, and that could have started with just mosquitoes. Like
Right,
mosquitoes
yeah.
could have transferred from disease to
Which
like,
is the number one
humans.
idea.
right.
Because it's also much easier to think about than somebody getting busy with,
With
a
a
chimpanzee.
chimpanzee. So I kind of want to move away from zombies because
Yes,
we've been
please.
we've been on this topic for quite a while. With natural disaster apocalypses.
Yes.
So the two that terrify me the most is a meteor just coming in and wrecking shop, and speaking of meteors, one of my favorite quotes from any Marvel movie is from Age of Ultron. This is the second episode of the road. Didn't we talk about Age of Ultron last week?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Is Ultron saying, "When the Earth settles, God throws a stone at it, and trust me, He's winding up." Like,
Yeah.
that is like so. That's a great quote from that movie. And then the second one that is I'm like scared of in quotation marks of like is the volcano erupting under Yellowstone.
Oh, the mega volcanoes?
Yes. If they erupt, we're just gonna die.
It's gonna cover. It's big enough to cover the United States in ash.
Yeah. Well, it just the whole world. the one under Yellowstone is. Like, the whole atmosphere will fill up with ash, and the sun won't be able to reach us, so it'll change everything, and we'll just die.
Yeah.
Which I think we could adapt, but we're not worrying about it enough
Yeah.
because it's gearing up.
But meteors are the purity of them. I kind of sound like Ultron in Age of Ultron. Like, the purity of them, like, we have no defense if a meteor.
One big enough. We don't have a good defense for it.
Let's throw a nuke at it.
Yeah, it's not something
Well,
that
because
you
then
can
we still have to worry about all the debris from the rock. We have to have something
right and
to
the possibility-
disintegrate the meteor. We would have to have something strong enough to disintegrate the meteor.
If it's blown into small enough chunks, it would absolve in the atmosphere or cause minimal damage.
Right.
Which is better than total extinction.
But like,
And
the main issue with that is like, how would you do that without
Right, that's
Exactly.
the problem.
irradiating the earth?
that's what that's the problem with it is that. Well, and see, so my seventh grade science teacher, Dr. Edens,
Yeah.
he messed me up one time because he said a meteor that is the size of a grain of sand going 10 million or 10,000 miles per hour or 10 million miles per hour, however much he said, hits Earth, which that would burn up in the atmosphere and wouldn't even give us like give
You
Earth
wouldn't
the
even
time.
get a readout.
Yeah.
It happens every day.
But if it were possible to get through the Earth's atmosphere that small, it would do the same amount of damage as a 10,000 square foot meteor going 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It would do the same amount of damage. And that would just mess me up because I'm like, but then I looked into it more. I was like, okay, so it's literally impossible for a meteor that small to get into Earth's atmosphere.
It's impossible.
So,
But that's what's interesting about like the meteor that helped cause an extinction event for dinosaurs.
right.
The one that created the crater for the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't remember how to pronounce it. I know it starts with a C. I'm not about to botch that saying. But
You want to look it up?
Which one?
The name.
the name of the meteor that caused the Gulf of Mexico.
Caused the Gulf of Mexico.
But it was big, but it wasn't as big as you'd believe to be like, oh my lord, it's the size of the moon.
Right.
It's not like that.
It was just meteors are so crazy to me. They honestly terrify me because it's like we just be a normal day and then just a meteor comes and just destroys Earth.
The Chicxulub crater impact.
That's why I wasn't about to try it.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly.
Well,
The Yucatan
I have
Peninsula.
problems pronouncing it.
Yeah, so that's where the meteor is. It's in the Yucatan.
I can pronounce dinosaur names though. It's the best I got. But that's a big one. And like you even mentioned how Age of Ultron, even Loki talks about that, like they just happen.
right.
Doomsdays, apocalypses, they happen, they come, everybody dies.
Mm-hmm. Well, and see, I wanted to talk about Loki episode 3 as well, because that whole episode is about natural disaster apocalypses. Like the one that they get stuck on is when the planets are colliding.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible in our solar system for our planet to collide with another one.
Not at its current state, at least.
Right.
No, like if
Some would have to go very wrong.
If
Yes.
some orbit gets screwed up, like it would have to be either Venus's or ours or Mars. I mean, Mars, that would take a long time.
It would be more imaginable that the moon collapses into the Earth.
Well, the
Right.
moon's going farther and farther away from us.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be
yeah.
easier to imagine that than a planet
Really?
coming towards us.
It's
Yeah,
getting further
yeah.
and further away.
Yeah, the moon is getting further and further away from the Earth. So our hours are going to we're going to get, you know how like every 4 years we have leap year, right?
Right.
So it's not exactly 365 days in a year. There's 365 days in about rounding up or down to a fourth. So that's why we have a leap year.
Okay.
So it's moving farther and farther away. So
Eventually one day
we're gonna
not-
have to compensate sometime.
Not in our lifetime, not in our children's lifetime, but one day we're not gonna have tides anymore.
Well,
Good
our
luck.
tides are gonna be our tides are gonna get jacked up.
That's kind of interesting to think
It's-
about.
it's-
Well,
while away.
but it's gonna be a really gradual thing.
I'll worry about it when I get there.
We're worried about it when it happens. That's how. Honestly, by the time that happens, humans might not even be on Earth anymore.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Let's hope we all
Jeffrey
just
Bezos and
I'm
Elon Musk
die.
are
I'm sorry.
have
if
a plan for us.
If we set aside our petty squabbles, we would have been on Mars already. That's all I'm saying.
Would you colonize to Mars?
Yes,
You would.
in a heartbeat.
You would. Just like right away. You'd
If
leave.
somebody was just like, "You want to go to Mars?" Yeah. What? What else am I gonna do? If somebody walked up to me and like, if I was approached and somebody was like, "You want to be a space ranger?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to just? I would. I don't have the build for it.
Well,
But-
see me. I literally cannot be an astronaut. I am not like you. The height limit is 6'2", and I haven't been 6'2" for a while.
I'm exactly 6 foot.
Yeah, the height
I'm
limit.
5'9".
Well, and see, I think the shortest you can be is 5'4", maybe. I might be wrong on the short end of the spectrum, but I've never had to worry about that. But yeah, do you have any other natural disasters that you're?
Besides, like, I feel like volcanoes and hurricanes, those are like the big ones. Like even Loki touched on it.
But like hurricane, like there's those kinds of like things that like just don't, like they're not world threatening.
But they're localized. I'd still call it a
Mhm.
doomsday of sorts, because even in Loki, they refer to them as apocalypses, the end of days for groups like Pompeii.
Right.
Everybody.
Everyone.
Nobody survives.
Mm-mm.
An extinction event of sorts. Not true extinction, but you get what I'm trying to lay down.
Well, and that whole grocery store, like getting hit by that hurricane, that like was like wow, like
Yeah.
that. You don't really think about like hurricanes being like an apocalypse thing, but like everyone died.
Yeah, that whole area.
Yeah.
Gone. Wiped off the face of the earth.
Which makes you think, where were the Avengers in the evacuation process for that?
Good question.
Like, I don't know. That's
Could be anywhere. Could be dead.
right. Who knows?
It's comic books. It's how it always goes.
Mm.
I do have a few last ones I can touch on if we're
All right. Yeah.
out of time.
We're not out of time.
I could list a few and we could just start talking about them if
Okay.
you like. Because we didn't even get to even more intricate like DC, Marvel stuff, even Star Wars.
What do you got?
There's also like movies like Planet of the Apes, even other comics like Hellboy, Judge Dredd. They're all dystopias, apocalypses. Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
If I had a nickel for every time Scooby-Doo has faced an apocalypse, I'd have two.
I would have to.
It's weird that it's happened twice.
Yeah.
Was one of them the live-action movie?
No, it was an animated direct-to-TV movie for Cartoon Network. Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a blast from the past.
Yeah,
man.
I'm
Oh my-
not about to say that that's not a doomsday. The Goblin King was about to take over the Earth, and Scooby-Doo had to save it. That
That's
is
so dumb.
definitely.
That's so dumb.
It's bad.
Apparently, Bethesda's adding fishing to Skyrim.
Really?
Skyrim is getting a free fishing update and a new 10th anniversary edition, which is just the
Can
special
Skyrim
edition.
just come out with a new game? Like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Well,
we're
like
waiting
it's,
for a new
well,
Elder
it's
Scrolls.
basically the special edition with like Creator Club content,
Mm.
which you could probably get just through Creator Club. But
Right.
we've dogged on Bethesda enough today.
That's
they
true.
That's
they,
topic
they
for its
have
own
made the
episode.
two best Doom games in a long time. So that's what they have,
That's all they have
That's all.
recently.
and
I'll-
that
I'll
was
still-
mostly id.
I'll
So
still
I'm not-
pour
I'm-
my money into Fallout because I'm a sucker.
Yep. Fallout and just Fallout.
Skyrim.
There's no and to that.
Well, like
Not yet.
unless you play Elder Scrolls Online.
Coming out with that Indiana Jones game.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all know that I'm a sucker for Indiana Jones.
You love your Indiana Jones.
I'm a sucker.
yes.
That's yeah. But like there's so many different apocalypses from pop culture, even Godzilla. Pacific
That-
Rim. Star Trek. The whole premise of Star Trek really derives from the fact that Earth went to nuclear war.
Yeah.
And we just leave. Well, like for most, we could say for everything other than natural disaster apocalypse, humans are the cause of
Yeah.
most apocalypses.
Unless you I have one. Might
Oh?
go over you because I don't know if you guys have read it.
What is it?
It's the Martian Chronicles.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Older sci-fi books, dry. It is kind of dry. but it's an apocalypse event basically that derives from the Martians on Mars itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch of apocalypses involved in there. End of times, viruses and death, and
War of the
Earth
Worlds.
explodes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's closer to the end though.
Earth go kaboom.
Yeah, because even sci-fi writers of that time knew that we couldn't be trusted with nuclear weapons.
Well, yeah.
But it starts out with the Martians in a decline,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets so bad that like the way that their brains work, it's psychedelic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That sci-fi of that era that it was written 50s, 60s, psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these like mental wards where basically if you're crazy enough, you start to create things with your mind. So this
Oh.
one dude goes to investigate these people who came in, and these outsiders. They look different. What's wrong with them? They
have
say they're
coneheads.
from a distant planet. They say they're from Earth.
Right.
So they follow them into the wasteland of Mars essentially and shoot them dead. This Martian shoots 3 astronauts dead.
Oh.
And he's just like, why aren't they turning back into regular Martians? What's wrong? I don't understand. And then he sees the rocket that they came on, and he says, oh God, they made me crazy too. And he shoots himself.
Uh-oh.
And that was basically he sealed Mars's fate.
They're shapeshifters?
Not exactly. It's in their head. It's like they can create a false reality. Like if they think that you
So
look
they can
purple,
make you, like, I would be able to make you think that I look like something else.
yes.
So they're telepathic.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a hive mind schizophrenia.
Not exactly hive mind though. There is a big plot point where they have to fit into a certain machination of their society. It's very hive-like, but they're not hive-minded. They're individual, but yet if they derive from the pack, they're seen as crazy and basically executed or put into a mental facility.
Oh, so it's like The Giver.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
They were making a statement. The
Yeah.
writer was making a
Yeah.
statement. Why can't I remember the writer's name right now? Not important to the story. But you get to the second part, more humans come to Mars, virus spreads, they get smallpox. And the Martians refuse to work with the humans. It's the corpses. They get smallpox from the corpses because, like Native Americans, essentially.
Right,
what
well,
happened
it's
to the
like-
natives.
Whenever people colonize to a different area, there's always
They
threat of
bring
disease.
viruses. They
right.
bring disease. They
Dude.
bring sickness. So that
Dude.
kills the Martians, and Earth
Ray
takes over Mars.
Bradbury.
That's it. Thank you.
Ray Bradbury, the dude who created Star Trek as well. Right? Or-
No.
No? That's Gene Roddenberry.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Okay. Hey, they have very similar kind of last names.
One was much more hopeful.
I know.
Roddenberry had a beautiful mind.
Yeah.
He was underappreciated in his time.
Yeah.
But like Earth explodes afterwards because enough
Okay.
people have moved to Mars, and Earth is just like, well, like Mars becomes a vacation destination. It's terraformed. You can go there. There's lakes. There's water,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's all this crap happens.
Do you know the Mars theory?
That we came from Mars is
Yeah. I don't know if I fully believe it, but I'm kind of a fan of that theory. The fact that we destroyed Mars as a human race and colonized from Mars to Earth, but I don't know if the scientific aspects of that is that like Mars is not in that sweet spot that Earth is that can support life.
the golden zone.
Yeah, like you're as far away enough from the sun that you could support life or
But
whatever,
didn't
and
it
you're
used to
close
be?
enough to the sun that
If it was, it's been a very,
very,
very long time.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
they're trying to
pretty
figure
sure
out.
that it never was.
Yeah.
Well, and like
Didn't they find microbes on Mars, though?
and traces of water, right?
Yeah, trace of water. Yeah, we've always assumed that it's there because we can see that it has an ice cap.
Well, and
Right.
also it being so close to Earth, like I'm not saying it being close like it's technically its next door neighbor, but
It's
like
our closest neighbor.
it's our well,
It's closer to us than Venus. I don't think it. I think it's
think it
further.
is.
I think it's further away than
I
Venus
don't
is.
think that's true.
Well, you guys keep talking, and I'll do some research.
but like it being so close, like with the meteor that went crash into us with like all the water, there would have to be some water that managed to get onto Mars, right?
Well, there is water that's on Mars. I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's frozen.
Well, yeah, I know, but like how water got onto Mars is what I was trying to
well,
think
there's
about.
think
the
it's-
comets.
Yeah, I think it's also a natural occurring thing. In lots of places, it's just a matter of atmospheric pressures and heats and densities.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Venus
Because
is
it's just hydrogen and oxygen.
Yeah, that's true.
Venus is 110 million miles away, and Mars.
How many astronomical units is that?
Just Mars is 243 million miles away.
Thank you.
So it is. So it is Venus.
Venus is closer?
Venus
I thought
is
Venus was further away. I
Venus-
really did.
Venus is our closest neighbor, or besides, other planet. The moon doesn't really count.
The moon is a moon. It's a satellite.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, dude, the moon is crazy.
But yeah, like that's the Martian Chronicles. It even gets to a point where like the last chapter story book is humans. They said that they told their kids they're going on a camping trip, and then they see through a telescope that Earth explodes.
Okay.
And the parents knew that was coming, and the kids are like, "When are we going home?" And we're never going home.
We're
again.
never
We
going
can't
home.
go home. Because the kids start to ask that when the father starts to burn files and paperwork that he brought with him. And it's like, actually, I don't think the parents knew. I think it just happened while they were on vacation. They were like, well, crap. I guess this is useless now. Guess we live on Mars. And it's actually supposed to be an emotional part of the book that they look into the lake, the man-made lake, and they see the reflection of the Martians, not themselves. Because it's supposed to be like, well, great. We put ourselves in the same place that they were. But what are we? Because we destroyed our home. Now we're stuck on Mars, doomed to die.
Right.
And then I'd like to touch on Roddenberry in Star Trek. He had a viewpoint that there was a nuclear war.
Yeah.
And to change from dystopias, doomsdays, and wastelands, doomsday came to pass, and man trialed itself.
Yeah.
And into a beautiful new world, they derive the world of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Earth is green again, and the only way is forward. So we decide to expand into the universe and go forward on with life.
Yeah.
And it's a world, if I'm not mistaken, they don't have money. There is no roads. It's like there's hover vehicles.
Well, there is roads in Star Trek.
In the original story that Gene Roddenberry made?
Well, not in the original story.
Because I know that there was
I
in the
don't know.
J.J. Abrams movies, and you know how I feel about them.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not Star Trek. I will not call it Star Trek.
The more recent ones.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, they don't... I just don't think it fits.
All right. Sadly, guys, this is all the time we have for this episode. This is our take on apocalypses. So yeah. The word for today, if you've made it this far, is blueberry. I don't know why. Last week's was pies and this week's is blueberry. I guess I just want some blueberry pie or something.
Now, I do want to remind y'all out there listening. You're nobody until somebody loves you. And that somebody is me. Have a good night, everybody listening to the podcast. Good day, good afternoon, whatever you're having. Remember to like and subscribe. And remember, I am omnipresent and always there.
And we'll see you next
All right.
week.
Bye, guys.